Okay, this won't be a very long video because the concept is fairly simple. I believe that how a universal basic income might work centers around three essentials of living. This is what I have termed the food, clothing, shelter initiative. These three core components that will make up the first drafting of my hypothetical proposal of the universal basic income model, food, clothing, shelter, will be given to you free of charge by the U.S. federal government. What the government receives in return for their generosity, however, is the right to issue each recipient a very small sum of money with the understanding that the sum is small because bundled with that paltry sum is free food, clothing, and shelter. So then, this is how we solve the problem of getting a basic income for everyone that needs one. Lower the actual amount of money issued, but bundle that low amount with the food you're going to eat, the clothing you were meant to wear, and the shelter you will live in. Those are the requirements to accepting UBI. You cannot opt out of this. You cannot just say, well, I'll just take the money. No, it doesn't work like that. Compare it to the cable companies, if you will. You may not want ESPN, CNN, the Oprah Network, or cable television at all, for that matter, and quite frankly, I don't blame you, but and with all due respect, it doesn't matter what you want, for as we all know, beggars cannot be at the same time choosers. In order for the cable companies to justify selling you internet service at their desired price point, they have to bundle that with not just a basic cable package, but a cable package that includes all of the filler content you've come to expect over the years. They can't just offer wireless internet alone. There's no money in that. So they have to bundle it with a quantity over quality, one-size-fits-all cable package that has a little something for everybody. Okay, food. I got to keep this video moving along here in order to keep it under a desired time limit. So let's talk about the type of food they will provide for us. As I mentioned in one of my videos in the Facebook series, it's going to be clean meat. Now, after I did that video, I saw an article from Wired magazine, and, well, let me backtrack just for a minute here. In the Facebook video, I described the concept of clean meat as being an inexpensive alternative to real meat. Well, shortly after I did that video, I saw an article from Wired magazine, and they talked about how clean meat being, well, contrary to what I was saying, very expensive to produce, completely contradicting what I had said. My response to that would be, if there's one thing that multinational mega corporate food manufacturers who produce food for the United States do very, very well, it is finding the least expensive and absolute cheapest way to create food products. I mean, they are world-class experts at it. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the mighty ConAgra, Unilever, or any other food behemoth. If they want to find a way to create the cheapest synthetic garbage for the American market possible, don't you worry about them. I have no doubt in my mind they will find a way to do it. Like I said, they are experts at it. I also mentioned in the video that this food will be created in laboratories in Mexico. In other words, they will be outsourcing production, and that will cut costs even further. Okay, in addition to clean meat, another food alternative we need to talk about, and wow, when I read the article, the nucleus for this video formed within me. I was actually on the fence as to whether or not I wanted to even do this video. I just didn't have the creative desire to do it. But on the morning of Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018, I saw this article from Ars Technica, and it felt like I was being hit by lightning, and all at once the nucleus for this video formed within me, and just like that I was back in the game. The article in question: forget the guilt trip, there's a better way to get people to eat more bugs, which I linked below. This article triggered memories within me about a similar article I had read like 3 years ago or something, but I had forgotten about completely. This article acknowledges an environmentally conscious desire by many to shift away from traditional food production, which accounts for as much as 25% of greenhouse gas emissions, and move towards accepting insects as an alternative protein source in Western diets. Insect farming, as many people know, could reduce greenhouse gases significantly. Swiss scientists conducted studies on the potential of getting people to consume bugs for the good of the environment, and they concluded that the aversion to eating bugs is emotionally based rather than rationally based. So what that means is that when insect farming becomes mainstream in the United States, an effective marketing strategy going forward to get hesitant consumers on board will be to appeal to their emotions rather than anything rational or logical about the practice. So that is another healthy food alternative available to UBI recipients. They're going to get Americans to eat bugs. I know it sounds crazy, but you'd be surprised what Americans will or will not eat when food scarcity presents itself. Impossible, you might say? There was a time in my life when I was like 20 or 25 years old, and I read the news just as much then as I do now today, and I recall mumbling the word impossible a few times back then. Today I find myself in my 40s, and I'm here to tell you that nothing is impossible. Americans can be convinced to do anything. Okay, moving right along here, we need to talk about fast food, and will it be available to individuals collecting a universal basic income? Yes, it will, but not in the way you think. I don't mean to needlessly over-dramatize the issue here, but you might want to sit down for this one. Most people know that fast food restaurants in the future will be completely automated. What most people may not understand, however, is that this automation will not be limited merely to the burger flipping operations. First off, your order is placed through your infotainment screen, which also shows the precise wait time down to the millisecond. Also, the drive-through lanes, in and of themselves, are essentially robots. When traffic volume is high, they literally spring to life and hand you the food, or hand the food you ordered to you, so you can get on your way faster. Long wait times are non-existent in the future. When traffic volume is low, the robotic drive-through lanes retract from whence they came, reducing the landscape eyesore and energy consumption in the process. The lady who takes your order is automated. She is an avatar. When the food is offloaded from the Tesla truck, the unloading and receiving process is also automated. The cleaning and sterilization of these machines is also automated. The repair and maintenance of these machines is also automated. So you can see now why becoming a quote-unquote robot repair technician does not necessarily guarantee you job security in the future. Now, a parts swapper will be the only job for humans in this capacity. If you can work a screwdriver, can remove electrical connections and connectors, can put on a clean shirt every once in a while and basically show up on time, then congratulations, buddy. You got the job. These robots adhere to a strict preventative maintenance schedule. If there is even the slightest anomaly, An internal diagnostic scan will pick it up, throw an error code, and then report it to the central office, who will then, in turn, contact a regional parts swapping service to replace the defective part. A meat bag with a multimeter, a bumbling, and a fumbling around is no longer needed because the robots already know what the problem is. So what does this all have to do with whether or not UBI recipients are able to get fast food? Well, I'm getting to that right now. Last but not least are the delivery options that fast food restaurants provide. As we all know by now, wheeled robots and drones seem to be the two options restaurants are leaning towards in getting food to their customers. The problem, however, is where UBI recipients actually live. Very high towering structures, and drones require sort of like a landing pad or open space in which to land. I talk more about UBI living accommodations in the next section, the shelter section, basically. What restaurants come up with as a way to get food to UBI recipients is to allow them the privilege of printing their own food, right from the comfort of their own home. From inside Facebook's virtual environment, a customer simply barks out a desired food item. A more refined robotic voice then responds with the amount of time required to print the desired item. In the distance, a universal food printer roars to life, pulling information down from the cloud as it begins the assembly process. Preloaded freeze-dried food powders are rehydrated to varying degrees, mixed with emulsifiers and binding agents, and then extruded into molds and then dropped onto a staging bed. Microlasers instantly cook foods that need to be cooked, centimeter by centimeter, bit by bit. The food, when completed, tastes surprisingly close to the real thing, and only a small suspension of disbelief is required in thinking that you are consuming, in fact, the real thing. There are some drawbacks to this technology. Number one being that a wait time is necessary. You really have to plan ahead, which for impulsive types may be problematic. Another drawback is the appearance of the food. All food has a texture and appearance that we have come to be familiar with over the years. Unfortunately, printed food will have a more uniform look about it. For example, all food will share one flesh tone color. If restaurants wanted to, they could add dyes to include color, but because of the added expense involved and the fact that it slows down the process even slower than it already is, they opt not to. In addition to sharing one color, all food items share one texture, which appears like a shiny latex rubber. This is an unfortunate byproduct of the food printing process. Damn, it took long.